I know you know what it's like to be in situations where you realize enough is enough, this is not okay, and I'm leaving. And you made that choice because you knew who you were, you knew what you were worth, and you knew what you were gonna stand for, and it wasn't this BS anymore. Hey y'all, it's Shimdi. So I wanna answer this question that came in from Nicole Hall, and she asked me, she'd love to hear my thoughts on overcoming a scarcity mindset or imposter syndrome when it comes to venturing outside of the 9-to-5 lifestyle. She's been tiptoeing around actually launching her freelance business for 3 years, and she is finally ready to take a chance on herself. So first off, congratulations, Nicole. One beautiful thing about reaching my 3-year anniversary of quitting my job is that it is so scary to take this kind of leap. You really do not see the path forward. You really do not know how you're gonna be taken care of. You don't know how your business is gonna grow. If you've never had a business before, you're really learning how to make money. There's so many learning curves, and you really don't see a clear path. That's the whole thing, right? There's so much faith and there's so much trust involved. To look back and realize it has been years, and despite all of the fear and all of the ups and downs, at no point did I take on another full-time role. I've been able to support myself and be supported year after year after year is such proof to myself and proof to everyone who's been watching since, you know, maybe you joined my channel 3 years ago when I quit that job, that it is possible to live a life where you are happy and successful and thriving without the 9-to-5 that you thought was key to your survival. So I'm really excited that you're at that place where you're ready to grow and challenge yourself. I think each of us knows deep down that there is abundance, that we are abundant, that there is more than enough. There's more than enough money, there are more than enough resources, there are more than enough clients, more than enough subscribers. Like, we will be okay. Not even that we'll be okay, we'll be great. Like, we have this like sneaking suspicion that like, I think I'm gonna be okay, you know, and even maybe better than I am now, right? But of course, there's this other part that's super scared and is saying like, I don't know, but what if not though, right? The thing with entrepreneurship especially, and I think with any kind of creative thing, if you're doing YouTube or, you know, you have an Etsy store or you're a musician, whatever you're up to, all of these creative endeavors, they ask you to be the one to stand in your own knowing and in your own worth in a way that you don't necessarily have to when someone else is in charge. When you have a 9-to-5 and someone else is in charge of, you know, what the quarterly goals are, you know, what your salary is gonna be, who your coworkers are, when you can go on vacation, there's a part of you that doesn't need to be as online because you can kind of just relax and be led by this external force. And I know growing up, I really craved that, like, because in my experience, I was doing so much self-leading that it was exhausting. And I was like, the last thing I need is to be leading myself in all of these ways and in my career as well. Let me go ahead and sort of slot myself into a career trajectory. Let me go ahead and just get onto this ladder, you know? When you are in the corporate and the 9-to-5 world, the ladder's been built, you just have to climb it. And it may be tough, and you may have a lot of toxic people, and you may have a lot of BS, but the ladder is there. You might have some rungs missing, like listen, but the ladder is there. When you leave that behind and you choose entrepreneurship or the creative life, you are creating the ladder, and no other person's ladder is gonna fit you perfectly. So no matter how much you try to model your own life after someone else, it's never gonna quite fit, and no one can make it but you. And that's a lot of responsibility. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing in terms of the imposter syndrome and the scarcity mindset. You have to take personal responsibility for how you see the world. The thing about scarcity is that it's not true. So if you believe it's true, you have to pause and be like, okay, I believe in scarcity. That's why I'm seeing it everywhere. That's why I'm scared. Why do I believe that? And how do I release that? If I don't believe I have the power to do that, why don't I believe I have the power? Like, you start with wherever you are. If you can just start with, I noticed the scarcity. Fascinating. How does that feel in my body? When I think about scarcity, I feel this tightness in my chest, or my shoulders get tight and heavy, you know? Like, you truly just start with where you are, but the process of deciding that you can do something about it is what gives you the power. For folks who are in really, especially toxic situations, that's come up a lot. I was asking folks like, oh, I'm making this update video. What do y'all want me to sort of talk about? And in general, when I talk about leaving 9-to-5 and doing YouTube and all of that, people so often bring up having super toxic coworkers and managers and this really just poisonous situation, right? And I think whenever we are in situations like that, The question is, why are we accepting it? What stories are we telling ourselves? What do we believe that says this is acceptable to me? Because I know you know what it's like to be in situations where you realize enough is enough. This is not okay and I'm leaving. And you made that choice because you knew who you were, you knew what you were worth, and you knew what you were gonna stand for, and it wasn't this BS anymore, right? So if you are in a situation now and you're looking around and you're like, this is super toxic, if you're not saying enough is enough, there's a reason why, right? And usually it's fear of some sort, right? So in this instance, imposter syndrome. So what I have to offer, it's not gonna be good enough, no one's gonna want it, other people can do it better. And I can share my perspective from creative coaching. So the coaching industry is, I think it's getting more and more saturated, like more and more people are realizing they can become coaches. It can feel as if, well, everywhere I look, there's another coach, right? And I know when I first was growing my coaching business, I would look out and I would just see competition. Whenever you think of the word competition, inherent in that is lack. When there's enough for all of us, why are we competing? Like, we don't need to because there's enough. So whenever you find yourself thinking, oh no, this person is further ahead than me, this person has something that I don't have, you know you're operating from this lack mindset. There are a few things that were really helpful in helping me move through that. The first thing, of course, is the inner work. So being with the ways I embodied lack and scarcity as a result of my experiences, and going back to those memories and going back to those versions of myself who are still stuck in those old memories of not having a roof over our head, not having enough food in the fridge, not having, money for new clothes, like all of these really painful experiences that we think because we've moved forward in time that they're not with us anymore. But if we recall them and they make us flinch or they make us cringe, that's a sign that there's still some energy there for us to return back into our body. And we need all of that energy so that we can pour it into the thing we are creating. That's why it's so hard to make something and to be entrepreneurial if you've got all of this past baggage, because the energy that you would be spending on the thing you're making is stuck holding on to all these things that happened when you were younger. And then the second thing is to see in your experience where the lie is exactly that. So when I made my video about Lynette Adkins and Kelly Stamps and sort of that balance between finding safety in a 9-to-5 versus finding safety in my creative endeavors, I had so many people who left comments saying, I also have a YouTube channel and I'm also operating on vibes, which blew me away. I thought I was doing something so wild. I really was like, I'm doing something so crazy, y'all, where I don't have a plan. And so many comments were like, yeah, me too. Yeah, me as well. Also me. And I'm like, what? It was very, very cool and very, very validating and assuring. And what I would do is I would click on the profiles of the people who said I also have a YouTube channel, and I would see there were so many people who were where I was a few years ago, right? Where they were just kind of figuring out their niche, just kind of figuring out their equipment, just kind of figuring out their branding and their thumbnails and their titles, and just kind of figuring out how to become consistent, just figuring out how to really be in their full expression on camera. And I was like, oh, there are so many people who I can help and I can support. I think the third extra thing I'd add as well, when you know what you are sharing with people is something super valuable, it makes it really easy and really fun to talk about that thing and share that thing. So I do free discovery calls for my 3-month coaching program, and I had a call last week with someone who was also a creative coach, but she was a creative career coach. She wanted to start up a group coaching program, and she was trying to figure out how to price her services, and she was doing a lot of work and giving it away for free. So I'm just looking at her like, girl, what are you doing? If you don't get some money for all this work you're pouring into these people. I could tell that part of the challenge was that she didn't understand the value in a deep way. There's one thing to understand something intellectually. It's different when you know it in your whole body. What I am giving is of great value to people. And when I was telling her about my program, which involves we start with a 2-hour strategy call, and then we have calls every single week, and then we also do 90-minute editing sessions, and we're also on WhatsApp, and I'm sending you voice notes. This is something I'm excited to share and talk about because I know it can really help, right? And she was hearing me talk about it, she was like, wow, I wish I could do something like that. And I'm like, That's what's possible. Like, you can be so excited about what it is that you are doing as an entrepreneur that it doesn't feel like work in the sense of you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. I'd say the real work is in what you're talking about. It's in like, I'm feeling lack, I'm feeling scarcity, I'm feeling imposter syndrome. Can I do the emotional work to overcome that? Because the actual strategy, in my opinion, is easy. The actual doing of it, that's the easy part when all of these emotional blocks are out of the way. I hope that was helpful, Nicole. If you are someone who is transitioning out of 9 to 5 into a creative life and you want some support and encouragement, you can put a free 30-minute coaching session on my calendar using the link below. And if you just have any questions that you want me to make future videos about, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.